Hi, and welcome back to Stamping with Carrie. Today we're going to make a cute little giveaway jar that you could give to someone just for a fun little gift. I got the jar just at my local craft store. You can do any size you want. This particular one measures roughly 2¼ inches across on the bottom and approximately 1¾ inches deep right here. So that just gives you an idea of what I'm working with. Today we're going to be doing things that feature some of this year's In Color colors, specifically pistachio pudding. And we're going to start first, set the jar aside. I pulled a stamp out of our Bring on the Cake stamp set. It's actually a 2-box stamp set. And I pulled out the Gift for You stamp. And I've got it placed here on our clear block A. This is a sheet of our Whisper White paper. Place that right there. Now, these are our new In Color colors for this season, 2013-2015 season. And I am going to pull out the baked brown sugar marker. A lot of people think when you're doing rubber stamping that everything has got to be actual stamp pads. Well, in this case, we're not using a stamp pad, we're actually using a marker. However, you could get a baked brown sugar stamp pad if you would like. There's 2 ends on our markers. We've got a fine point end, and then we've got a paintbrush end. I'm going to be working with the paintbrush end. And what's nice about markers on stamps is you can actually choose what part of the stamp you want to show. This particular stamp says A Gift for You. However, the punch we're going to be using with it, that's not all going to fit. So we're just simply going to color in For You. Just go over that. Careful not to hit the parts that I don't want stamped. And just color that in. If your ink dries with the markers, you get to huff on it. I'm going to place that down on the corner of my paper here. And I smushed that one. Sometimes it's good to have a piece of paper to practice with, so we're just going to simply do that again. Okay. There we go, much better. Set that aside. Now let me get this bad one out of the way here. Okay, now we're going to use our modern label punch. Punches actually fold flat just to make it for easier storage. Pop it open that way. And when I punch, I don't like to punch this way. I like to be able to see what I'm doing. So I actually will do the punch upside down. That way I can line up my stamp and have it centered the way I like it. And that looks fairly good. Punch that out, and there we go. Now I'm actually going to take a sheet of our pistachio pudding paper and punch out the same thing. Okay, we're going to use this back piece of pistachio pudding to outline the edges of our white paper, and I'm simply going to cut it in half right down the middle. Using our snail adhesive, I'm not going to go all the way across here, just more towards the edges. Put a little bit of adhesive on either side of this. And then kind of eyeball that. And stick that background right on there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and place some of our Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. I'm going to put 3 on here, just since we're sticking it to glass, just to make sure that it's really secure to the glass. And I'm going to set that aside. Okay, taking our jar, Might be a good idea to go ahead and fill it with whatever you're wanting to use, some M&Ms, some mints, just other small candies. You could put some bath salts in here if you would like, you know, whatever you think you can put in the jar that somebody would like to have. Put that lid back on there. I'm going to pull out here and I'll show you. This is our In Color 2013-2015 Designer Series paper pack, and it's got specialty papers featuring all of our new In Color colors. See, there's a lot of fun colors here. And again, we're using the pistachio pudding. So what's fun is all of our items in our catalog coordinate. We're using the pistachio pudding out of the Pata paper. We also use the pistachio pudding cardstock back behind here. There's a pistachio pudding marker. We're going to be putting, there's embellishments. Everything is all coordinating so that you can always make your projects match if you like. Now, I am going to, and these are reversible papers. I'm going to use the polka dot side. I'm a polka dot person. Right in the middle here, I'm going to put some adhesive on just to keep this paper from slipping. And try to center that up on here. And I forgot to explain the paper to you. What I did with the paper, you could actually cut this out by hand with scissors if you would like. I actually used my Big Shot die cutting machine and used the Frameless Squares collection and simply found a square. It's going to depend upon what size your jar is, but found a square and cut that out that would hang down at least an inch, 3/4 of an inch to an inch below the jar lid. Okay, with that on there, I'm going to start kind of mashing this down, kind of creasing it around the lid. And the paper is going to naturally kind of fold, and I'm going to let it do that. And that's what I mean by that. It's going to kind of crease as you go around it, and that's okay. It's going to have to in order to get it to, you know, something stiff like this to fit around something round. And like I said, it helps if you put the adhesive on the paper beforehand. That kind of holds it to the lid, makes it a little bit easier to manipulate. Okay, now that I've got that on there pretty good, I've got some of our ribbon, and again, all of our ribbons too have colors in the catalog that they coordinate with as well. This one, however, I'm using the, Early Espresso. It's like a dark, deep chocolate color ribbon. Kind of measure out about and then what I've noticed is easier to do on this. I don't want to go all the way around, but probably a couple of inches down the middle of this, I'm going to put some of my snail adhesive on it. Fold that in half to kind of find my middle part. Just roll that on there. And that, I have noticed, kind of helps hold this in place on the paper as you're trying to tie the bow. Now, when I do my jar, because you could use a circle piece of paper on here, but I did a square, I want to make sure that my label shows up when we stick this on here. And I don't know, it may not look as good right there. I don't know, your call, however you want to place that. So kind of decide where you want the front to be, because you want to make sure that's where your bow winds up tying. And I'm going to pull this fairly tight as I go around. Try to hold that paper down. You can either tie this into a knot. If you're a knot person, you can tie it into a bow. Whatever makes you happy. We're going to try for a bow here. Might be handy to have an extra set of hands doing this. Then cut your ribbon to match. Need a little bit off of that side. Okay. Alright, so we've got that on there. We've already put together our label that says "For You." Just peel tabs off of our dimensionals. Place that where you would like it. Make sure that adheres well to that glass. Okay, then just to embellish it just a little bit farther, it's fine how it is, but just to embellish it a little bit farther, I've got some of our in color embellishments. It's called Boutique Details. Open that up and pull out the button. I guess it's kind of like a button that matches the brown sugar ink that we use down here. Put just a little bit snail adhesive here. And voila. I have to kind of hold the edges down for that to stay on there. And then I've already done another one. Exact same thing. I just used the happy birthday off of one of the stamps and used a little bit different colors on it as well, but it all came out of the in color with the exception of the ribbons. I hope you enjoyed how to make a little personal jar gift, and thank you for joining me today.